What else happened? Oh, actually, yeah, I got something I want to talk about. Highguard shut down, and that sure is an occurrence. I don't know, guys. I feel, and I know people are going to disagree with me on this, right? But I feel like something about the whole Highguard thing feels a bit weird. And I've been trying to like break down like why that is, because I didn't feel this way about what was the other one? Concord. I didn't feel this way about Concord. I feel like Concord was coming out and like there wasn't really that much. Like, I think some people were making fun of the trailer, but I didn't feel like people were really like blasting Concord with the same vitriol that they did Highguard, you know? Then Highguard gets revealed at the, it's the last spot on the Game Awards, and all of a sudden there is like this weird, like, just tidal wave of hate for the game. And just to be clear, I think people can, people are consumers. People can like or dislike whatever the fuck they want. I personally watched the trailer for Highguard, and my thought was like, well, I'm never playing that. Like, I don't really give a shit about hero shooters. I don't think it looks great. Like, I don't like the aesthetic of all these people in, like, armor, and then one of them picks up, like, a fucking AK-47. I didn't think it, I just thought it looked kind of silly. But then, like, it's also not for me. It's not my kind of game. I don't really care. I don't think about it. And then, I go on the internet the next day, and there is, like, an angry pitchfork mob around this game. And it feels weird, because I feel like when people get angry about a game a lot of the time, usually it comes from a place of investment. And that's not saying that like all anger is justified. God help us, we all know that like people get fucking spun the fuck out about video games, right? But like, let's take something like DMC, the not numbered kind of alternate reality Devil May Cry game. People didn't like that they were basically rebooting Devil May Cry and that it was being seen as like disrespectful towards the old games, while also taking a bunch of the philosophies of Devil May Cry and basically just like fucking them out the window. And so like there was a lot of hate towards that game, and in some ways like understandably, because people had built up this commitment, this love for this game, and it felt like having that love kind of betrayed. And I have felt that in various ways. I felt that with Final Fantasy. I felt that with Yakuza. I felt that in a bunch of different game series that I love. And while that never really turns into anger, like I try not to get angry at games, I'm kind of looking at Highguard, and I'm sort of looking around at people, and I feel like,
oh boy,
I feel like, but why do you give a shit? Like what is with the vitriol for this specific thing? And there's parts of it I kind of understand, right? This was from a lot of the people who made not Apex, Titanfall. And people really, really badly want a Titanfall 3, and so I get that. But I also feel like the level of hate for Highguard is so much more than that, So I'm starting like looking around on YouTube, and I start like seeing like a lot of videos about Highguard, and there's this like overwhelming flood of videos about how this game sucks and about how it's going to fail, and like immediately this game has like an anti-fandom, and another thing I'm also noticing is that a lot of these videos, they have like an incredible number of views. And what it made me think of is it made me think of Sword Art Online back in the day, right? As some of you know, my origins are from anime YouTube. And back in the day, I believe it was the channel Digibro, now going by Trixie the Golden Witch, I believe, made a video called Your Anime Sucks, and she talked about basically Sword Art Online sucks, which was, you know, it was the classic formula of popular thing is bad, gets views. Now the video was actually like good, and the video was like it was entertaining, and it was really a very interesting look at like why this anime sucks. But and just to be clear, like I didn't even necessarily agree with the video. My opinion on Sword Art Online is it's just kind of average. Like there's a lot of schlocky anime, and that one I think just had a really engaging premise for the time, in that it was one of the first isekai to blow up. I don't really think it was better or worse than a lot of the other kind of just mid-tier anime being released back then, but whatever. But all of a sudden, Sword Art Online making negative videos about it kind of became this YouTube like cheat code, and everyone was making like negative Sword Art Online videos. And a lot of those videos, don't get me wrong, were like well made and entertaining, but you were kind of like watching this entire sphere of the internet adopt this like identical opinion. And it made me feel a bit weird, because I felt like a lot of it was kind of... I felt like the people were nearly incentivized to have this opinion, because these people were like the tastemakers in these communities, but you could guarantee a lot of money by saying Sword Art Online sucked, you know? And I think some people genuinely thought that. Like, I certainly think that, like, you know, the Digibro, which was their, you know, her channel name at the time, and Mother's Basement and stuff, like, they clearly disliked this anime, but something about... there was a kind of bandwagon effect that I kind of didn't love, you know? And like every time I put out a video, people were like, when's the Super Eyepatch Wolf Sword Art Online video? Like, when are you gonna... like, they were like excited. They were like, when are you gonna take down Sword Art Online? And my opinion was like, I don't give a shit about that show enough to talk about it. You know, like, why the fuck would I personally talk about that when there's all this... I'm going to talk about Mob Psycho. I'm going to talk about Silent Hill 2. I'm going to talk about this other shit that I actually really give a shit about, you know? And it was just a weird thing. And I feel like with the Highguard stuff, I feel like that same thing happened, but before the game actually like came out. And again, this isn't like a defense of Highguard. I haven't played Highguard. I don't give a shit about Highguard. But something about that trend, it really bothers me. Because I feel like it's kind of this thing where it's nearly like this manufactured disdain for this thing that wasn't even out, you know? And, you know, then the game came out, and like, from what I could tell, the game seemed like, I'm gonna say fine, but I mean fine in terms of it's just kind of mediocre. From people whose opinions I trust, it's kind of a shoulder shrug. It's like, yeah, there's some interesting things about this game, and there's some stuff that like doesn't work. It didn't seem like it was going to be the kind of game to set the world on fire, and I don't think it sounds like the kind of game that was ever really going to succeed. I don't think the actual controversy that surrounded Highguard actually affected its chances one way or the other. I'd be the opinion that, like, of all the publicity probably did positive things for its player numbers as opposed to actually hurting its chances of long-term survival. To me, it just didn't seem like the game just had it to maintain a player base that it needed.
1 million dongs! Oh boy!
And so, yeah, like, the game failed. I'm not overly surprised it failed or whatever, but yeah, what I find kind of fucking weird is that manufactured hatred for it. And I don't think that's a good way to go, because I feel like the only thing that's really going to bring to the games industry is just even more hate and abuse, and opposed to people like getting behind games that they fucking love and games that they really believe in and give a shit in. There's nearly an incentive now to find a target, you know? And like, whatever you think of Highguard, you can't deny that, like, the people who made that game have done some beloved stuff for games in the past. Like, a lot of people who made, like, you know, Apex and Titanfall. I don't even like Titanfall 2.
Boo this man!
You know, I don't even have that investment in this, but it's just a part of why I don't know, guys. Like, I just found something about this fucking weird. And from being a YouTube dinosaur like I am, I do kind of think that it's occasionally my responsibility to point at trends on the platform and be like, I don't think this is good. Like, I don't think this is good for anyone. Yeah. I guess I just wanted to put that out there because, like, you know, you've seen this in various forms over the years, but, like, creating anti-fandoms for games that aren't really out, why? Like, what is the actual value of that? Like, what is that actually achieving? If a game is going to die, it's going to be because not enough people love it. It's not going to have anything to do with the people who hate it. You know, every popular game has, like, people who dislike it. And then, like, I've seen people say that, like, oh, well, it's because, you know, it's like having this big mainstream thing forced down our throats. And it's like, well, now, hang on, like, Highguard was a new IP from, like, developers with an established pedigree. I don't think the game was, like, a particularly good idea. There's nothing about it I liked, but it's not the same as, like, you know, a game from, like, a massive developer that's just designed to be this thing. But yeah, it's just a super fucking weird thing that I didn't think was great. It kind of reminded me of you know, the one where one character plays a monster and then the other characters have to hunt it. Evolve, that was the one. Evolve was really weird because it came out, it wasn't launched as a video game, it was launched as an esport. And so I think there was an element of that. But again, with Evolve didn't have that, like, anti-fandom against it. It was just that not enough people loved it, and so it died, you know? The whole anti-fandom thing, I think, is not, like, a trend I would like to see continue in video games. It doesn't help that post-launch, the devs pulled the AAA corpo deflection of blaming the gamers. Okay. What did they actually... I'm curious. What did they actually say? So, let's Google Highguard devs blame gamers. So this looks like one developer on the team. In the post, Josh pointed out that the content creators often post negative content or rage bait to get their engagement and views. Asmongold pointed out that this was a huge fallacy. Content creators create content to mirror the popular opinion. Okay, I can't find the actual thing. But, like, yeah, if one developer was like, this sucks, sure, that doesn't change the overall kind of narrative of, like, an anti-fandom forming for something that is not out yet. Like, that is a footnote in the story as opposed to the actual story. But yeah, it's a weird one. I think it's an overall issue with internet culture. It seems like people are far more prone to trying to fight things than support them. Yeah, he basically said if you didn't have X playtime, you shouldn't talk about it, which I would also disagree with, right? Because, like, I think people, like, it's no individual, like, this is why it's so tricky. Like, it's no individual's problem for, like, disliking the game. It's the content creator, hey, I can get a bunch of views from this. That's the part I don't like. I think people are just suspicious right now of all the companies who are just trying to make Overwatch, but this time make money. A shame, because most people are just trying to make, and then I think got cut off. Yeah, look, here's the thing though, like, and I'm gonna count myself in this as well. Like, yeah, you should be suspicious of corporations. Corporations want to get money out of you, and a lot of times that's all they fucking care about, okay? You should also, like, be suspicious of people who are, like, only posting negative shit. You should be suspicious of people who are always jumping on, like, the next fucking thing to, like, get angry about and, like, to, you know, basically farm a bunch of rage engagements. Like, that's, I think, ultimately what we're talking about here, because I don't think those people have your back any more than the corporations that they're kind of railing against, you know? And fuck it, like, me and, like, no one should be watching my videos and being like, Eyepatch Wolf said this, and so now that's my opinion on this subject, you know? I don't expect that at all, or want that. Like, that's not why I make videos. I make videos because, like, I enjoy making them. I like putting my opinion out there, and, like, you know, I like interacting with you guys about them. I don't want you guys to agree with me. I don't want you guys to think anything other than your actual own opinion about stuff. But yeah, and like, look, I will shit talk things as well, right? Like, a bunch of people got mad when I, you know, made that Yakuza video being like, I think Yakuza isn't good now. And, you know, that's fine. Like, that's okay. I'm not out here making 8 videos about how Yakuza sucks. I basically just talked about my opinion on where Yakuza's at. And unless something else happens, I'm probably not going to talk about it again, you know? Well, time to discard all my opinions. How would one make an algorithm that rewards positivity over hate? Well, those are bigger questions that are getting way above my pay grade, unfortunately. A reminder that every game development starts with the intention of making the best game ever. Yeah. Like, are some of them, like, you know, just, like, you know, not coming from the best place? Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah, like, I mean, you guys see me watch trailers for games. A lot of the time I'm like, no, don't want to play this, don't give a shit. But I would never, like, make personal assumptions about the people who make the game. You know what I mean? Don't buy into this narrative that every game you don't like is part of this gigantic movement to squash down the shit you do. Because it's not. Like, it's just not, you know? Like, every kind of game, I feel like, is always going to exist. You are always going to be able to find shit you love, and existence of games that you don't like or don't care about is not an attack on that. It's just a different fucking thing, you know? And, like, you could go on, like, the Steam concurrent numbers pages right now, and whenever I do, I'm like, I don't know any of this shit, and I probably wouldn't be interested in a lot of it, but, yeah. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about Highguard. We're probably not gonna talk about it again. From Celestial 1732, I'm a game dev. I met some high-profile people at QuakeCon. The rot destroying the AAA scene is always executives and too many layers of management. Veteran devs get caught. Artists have no say. That's the whole industry right now. See, like, that's kind of, it's shit like that makes me like, well, no, it's not the fucking devs. Like, don't let weirdos on the internet make you hate people who make games. Like, that should never be what it's about, you know?